Okay, IDs. So what is it that makes good multimedia design? Well, if we were to ask Clark and Mayer, what they would say is that multimedia is anything that provides both words and pictures to students to help heighten their chances for success. And so when I'm thinking about incorporating multimedia into my particular courses, I'm always paying attention to the cognitive load, and that is our brains can only handle so much information in our short-term memory. So we want to make a real efficient effort to make sure that what is being absorbed by the student at any given time is being efficiently used. So we don't want anything that's extraneous or anything that's going to be serving as a distraction when we're trying to help the students imbibe, so to speak, information and new learning. All right, so we want to keep those distractors at an absolute minimum. And when we look at something like a multimedia presentation like the one we're looking at right here, this is a pretty standard basic type of format for delivering multimedia content. This is a articulate storyline, SCORM compliant lesson, and it's very analogous to Adobe's Captivate, and many of you are familiar with either one or both of these, and they're pretty analogous to one another in the sense that they're like Coke and Pepsi, so to speak, right? They are very similar. Their setups are very similar. Their formats are very well aligned with a typical PowerPoint slide presentation thing. But they're a little bit different, and from what I can gather, we use Articulate Storyline most exclusively, but I know from Captivate experts they're very similar. And what is it that makes them different? Well, my understanding is that the Storyline is more user-friendly. It's a little simpler, and it's easier to maybe learn, but then again, Captivate is a little more extensive in its capabilities, but with that comes the learning curve, and getting more comfortable with it takes a little bit of a long time. So I guess it's kind of like the LMS conversation that we often have, and that is, what makes one LMS different from the other? Well, it's probably something to do with its simplicity versus capability, right? It's something like that where you're making a decision on what it is that you want. Do you want it to be very adaptable, or do you want some bells and whistles involved? So that's kind of where we are with that. But either way, the standard setup is pretty much the same. And what I want to do here is I just want to take a couple of minutes, and we're going to see a couple of videos here, but I want to look at a couple things on this particular slide deck. This actually comes from an engineering course that I worked on last year, and what I want to talk about is I just want to talk about the format that what makes good multimedia is two things in this particular case, and it's simplicity and it's consistency. And so I just have 4 slides here that I want to show and just kind of give you a sense of what it is that makes it simple, makes it consistent. We want a nice interface that where we can find things. We don't want to be able to. We don't want to be forced to try to find things. We don't want to be advancing to the next slide, wondering where we're going. We don't want to. We don't want to advance to the next slide, being surprised at what we see. If we look here, what we have is is a basic setup for this series of slides, and we're talking about the low probability of success of an engineering project, and of course this is tied to project management and engineering. And so what we have here is what is it that contributes to the low probability of success, and there's some things that do that in terms of what causes a project to end, and that's kind of what this module is about. It's about what causes a project to end, and there's a number of different factors that go into that. And in this case, we're looking at 3 of them. And as you can see, we have the the types of factors that impact the failure of a project, and there's three of them. And the first one is low probability of success. And so what we have here is we have an introductory kind of what I call lead-in text. We have some examples down here, or some rules of thumb. And then what we have here is we have an example, and they can be in different forms. This one happens to be an audio example right there. This one is commercial viability, is talking about Northeastern students, and when they developed a special kind of sock that goes on a washing machine. All right, so we have that there. All right, so we have the big category, we have the big title, we have this, we have broken down into a kind of bullet information, and then we have an example. If we advance to the next slide, it's going to be much the same, except it's not low probability of success anymore. It's the no solution reason, right? Engineering design, lasting process. We have an example, another situation where Northeastern students were trying to perfect something in engineering here, and then we have another example here. So it's kind of works that way. Intellectual property, then we'll have that, and this is an example of the intellectual property, and we're talking about a do-it-yourself software package for choosing mutual funds. Okay, and those are the examples. So that's that. It's very important that these the multimedia have a simple, easy to use interface, and at the same time we want them to be predictable, and we want the transitions also to be very predictable and very consistent. So that's what you have for that.